And we bring these prayers to you in the words that Jesus taught us when he said, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Now, before Penny comes up for the gospel lesson, you were the one person I didn't get to when I was running all around this morning. Jeannie Wood has an introduction about Camp Pecometh, and also an introduction to our guest speaker today, who many of us know, but you may not know, is Augie Lankford.
Well, hello, everybody. How are you all doing today? Oh, yeah. Better?
Not yet.
Better?
No. Getting there.
Wait a minute, Phil's turning it up.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I bet when you walked in here this morning, there was no doubt in your mind what next month's mission will be. Camp Pecometh, huh?
It's not decorated like this every week.
No. Whatever the mission is. Yeah. I do want to remind you, though, before we get into that Encore is still this today. And we will be finishing up our Encore, and we really need to make sure we focus on that because they're in desperate need still with all of the floods and the hurricanes and the fires. And just, you take a minute and you think, if I had to go home and there was nothing left there, you look at that on TV and you think, wow, I need to be given to Encore. So that's one of the things, make sure you know, and Encore bags. Pecometh's mission is to provide a welcoming and inclusive environment where people can connect with God and one another. One of our missions is to help support that cause. And we have done that over the years by giving scholarships to youth of our congregation and our community. We've offered scholarships for special needs children. Mostly that's what we've done, is the special needs area. But in addition, we've built a cabin and maintained the cabin over at Marsh. Now, it used to be called Boys Hill for all of you who would know that's Boys Hill. So if you do the math, it's 22 years we've been maintaining this cabin and taking good care of it. So to all of you, thank you for your support over all of those years, because it's taken all of us to go over, put a new roof on, put new windows on. Every year we have to put new screens in because they take the screens out every year. And but all of the things that we've done, we put a new porch on, I think, last year, and a hole in the roof from a tree, so we had to put that on last year. So those are the kind of things. So many families in our congregation have connected with God in one way or the other at picnics, and I kind of reminded the 8:30 group, our picnics were so much fun, and everybody will remember Mama B and her special shirts she would wear to Camp Pecometh, and the retreats and the summer camps and the long weekends there.
And weddings. My daughter got married at Camp.
That's right. Yeah, right. We had a wedding there. Yeah, that's right. And so all of the things in our lives that have, and I'll tell you what I told him. And when my oldest son went, I packed a bag. It was so exciting. A new mom went to camp, put all the things in, put the labels on, got them ready. 2 of his buddies went. They were all swimmers. Got home from the week. I said to Wesley, did you have fun? He said, yeah, we had a great time. And I looked at his bag. It was exactly the way I said it. He wore his bathing suit the whole week. Yeah. And so then I got a call from Linda McCloskey. She said, did you open Wesley's bag? I said, yeah. She said, Brian didn't wear anything. And then Ben Oman's mom called, Dr. Oman's wife, and she said, did Wesley wear any of his clothes? She said, Ben's were just like I sent them. I said, no, we probably didn't need to take any suitcases. So the 3 of them wore their bathing suits all week. That's what swimmers do at Camp Pecometh. So don't let anything happen to the pool. Pecometh, like some of us, the years have passed by and things have changed and a little work needs to be done there, just like some of us need replacements. Well, they need replacements. And that is our thrust for this year. We're saving to put a shade roof on Jake's place. Oh, this picture, I told it had to stay here for 2 hours. Anyway, this is Jake's place, and it's there by the river, and Augie will tell us a little more about that when he gets talking. But anyway, this is where the counselors come out, and you see there's no shade, and the kids are down here. So we're gonna bring it out and put a roof on, put some benches there for them. And one of the other churches is gonna put a new door on, some windows. In other words, Jake's place is getting a replacement. They're getting some new parts. Like old people get new parts, they're going to get some new parts. And we've been saving, and we're just about ready to go. Randy, Gene's son, told us we've got enough money, and Randy and his crew are coming in, and we're going to get started on that. So we're just about ready to roll, and that's why we're doing Camp Pecometh. So hopefully that'll be good, and the kids won't have to sit out in the heat and not pay attention, because this is where they learn the rules of the river and the rules of how things happen at camp and the yeses and the nos of camp. So I know all of you, you're a great congregation, so I know that I can count on you to help us with Camp Pecometh. And we're thrilled here today to have Augie Lankford with us. He's the director of Camp Pecometh, and he's going to tell you his story at Camp Pecometh.
Amen. Penny's going to come read our gospel lesson, which again, Augie selected, and then Augie's going to share.
Luke 6:27-38. But I say to you who are listening, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also, and from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Give to everyone who asks of you, and if anyone takes away what is yours, do not ask for it back again. Do to others as you would have them do to you. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you expect to receive payment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. Instead, love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, for he himself is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back. The word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
Oh, sorry about that. One of the job requirements to be the camp director is stepping away from the microphone and still being able to project. So I got that in spades. We're all good. Good morning, everyone. So great to be here with you. Once again, my name's Augie Lankford. I'll get into my story in just a second. How many of you have been to Camp Pecometh before? How many of you have stayed in the adult retreat center or been in the adult retreat center there? Beautiful, beautiful. How many of you have no idea what this Camp Pecometh thing is we're talking about today? A little bit of an idea? Okay, very good, excellent. So once again, my name's Augie Lankford. I grew up in Dorchester County, Maryland, on a chicken farm with 3 siblings. My proper name, because people always ask, Augie, is that a nickname? Yes, it is. My proper name is August Paul Lankford. I was named after my dad's favorite uncle, who I never had the opportunity to meet. My mom went along with my dad naming me because she was like, okay, well, August, that's a little different. Okay, your Uncle Augie, well, maybe he'd like the nickname Augie, but let's make sure it's Paul in the middle there, so he could be Paul Lankford, for professional purposes. I'm Augie. I've always been Augie. The kids I went to kindergarten with are the same kids I graduated a few years later with, all 76 of us in our graduating class. Growing up on a farm, we didn't take a lot of vacations. We didn't get to go to summer camp. My parents' idea of summer camp was work on the farm, thank you. So I always attended a little 3-point charge church, Cokesbury United Methodist Church, and it was the same church my dad went to, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and probably 2 or 3 greats in front of that. So just that's where the Lankfords settled when they came across the big pond and never left. And my mom still lives on the farm to this day down in Dorchester County. So people often ask with once again with Augie, did people make fun of your name? It's like, no, because it was as common with my classmates as the John we had in our class, and the Tim we had in our class, and the Ronnie we had in our class. It's just one of the names. And communities like that are great, but they tend to pigeonhole you. The kids who emerge as the leader in kindergarten or first grade, they stay the same leaders the whole way through. The people who do this are considered that all the way through, and so sometimes you get a little pigeonholed. And part of my upbringing was, what was my role? And my role was kind of the class clown, a little sarcastic, and we had some therapy here on the pulpit this morning going through this. Part of being in that tight-knit community is sometimes there's things previous generations have done that you have to pay for or you get the result of. And I don't know what the situation was with my parents where something went wrong in the community, but I felt like sometimes they took it out on the kids, my brothers and I and my sister. And I feel like maybe that sarcasm that I had was like a defense mechanism. I still remember being in first grade, being invited to go play at a friend's house, but when the parents found out who my parents were, it's like, no, you can't come now.
Oh.
Like, once again, you're kind of paying for the sins of the generations before you. So when I was about 13 or 14, I had never heard of Camp Pecometh, but the United Methodist women at our church were like, we want to make sure all the kids at our church, all 4 of them, 3 of them related to me, get a chance to go to Camp Pecometh. And my mom had to pay the registration fee for us, but other than that, the United Methodist women, if they had not done that, none of us would have been able to go. And it was a transformative experience in my life. I went there, and I still remember the camp counselor. We were just in a little group discussion, me and the other guys in the cab, and there were like 6 or 7 of us. Hey, Augie, what do you think about that? Imagine going 13, 14 years without ever having an experience where someone asked, what do you think about that? Because before it was everyone had their roles, and this is how you're supposed to think or be. And it was just such a blessing to be in a new environment where I could explore a little bit. I could see what kind of person I was. It wasn't like the peer pressure of what happens back at home or in your school. So, I quickly discovered I had some organizational skills. I had some leadership skills. I had a caring heart. I didn't have to be sarcastic to deflect things. I could let things in much easier. My faith blew up as well, just so much more. For those of you who have been to Pecometh before, it is holy ground. if you are open to it, you will have a God experience there. And I certainly did. You know, once again, I grew up in that Methodist church, but it was mom or dad dragged me out of bed on Sunday mornings. Like, we're going to church, you know? So after my experiences there, I got much more involved at our church. I mean, mind you, it was a small country church. But, you know, all of a sudden, you know, as a high school student, I was teaching like the 1st and 2nd grade Sunday school classes, you know? So I really, really got much more involved at the church. I love that community there. You know, I love that community there. Summer of '93, I was a junior counselor there, and Reverend Charlie Barton was the interim director. I see some heads nodding and whatnot. We had lunch together one day, me and some counselors, and he sat there, and it was my only interaction with Charlie all the whole week I was there. About 15 minutes, you know, he just asked me a few questions. I saw him the following summer, and he remembered everything about our conversation. Everything. Made me feel like the most important person in the world. So, being a camper there, wanting to be on staff there, I worked really hard to become a lifeguard so I could work on summer staff there. Got an opportunity to be a camp counselor. I just wanted to be a part of that community. It was Christians working together. It was an awesome mission of, you know, introducing young people to Christ. So I just love that experience. Maybe a little too much, because I went to college at Salisbury University. I was a commuter student to save money, so not living on campus. I would sometimes work 2 or 3 part-time jobs in the evenings to afford to go back to camp during the summer. The wages at the time weren't really the best there, but the experience was so worth it. Had the opportunity to become the program director at Camp Pecometh right out of college, which I did for 6 years. And I think that's where Pastor Christine and I first met, probably late 90s, early 2000s. So just a blessing to have a full-time job. It just kind of opened my eyes to a lot of different opportunities out there in the world. In 2004, it was time to leave Pecometh. I got married a couple years earlier. My wife and I decided it was time to have a family. We were living in Wilmington, where we still live to this day. She worked in Philadelphia. I worked down at Camp Pecometh. But raising kids and having an hour commute doesn't work out very well. So, raising a couple beautiful boys, a 16-year-old and an almost 14-year-old. And then we talked a little bit about COVID earlier, and you know, some repairs needed around Pecometh. So during COVID, we took the boys down to Pecometh to walk the trails there and just be on the property. Pecometh opened up the doors to do that. And I was just talking to my wife about how much Pecometh meant to us. She knows it meant a lot to me as well. I actually proposed to her at Pecometh. So that was a funny story. I'll have to tell you that sometime. No, time out. I'm going to tell you. So at the end of the summer of 2001, I was lifeguarding for a church group that was there. Me and this like 16-year-old lifeguard young lady. So we were supposed to be done at 8:30, and I was going to go back to my cabin on the property and propose to my wife. The 16-year-old's dad was an hour late picking her up. So here I was. I wanted to go back to the cabin and propose to my wife. And my girlfriend at the time had no idea that I was planning to propose to her. So it's like, Courtney, could you please get your dad here? I got some important stuff I need to go to take care of. So just once again, just so many fun memories and just such a special place. So during COVID, walking the trails with my wife, and I just start talking about what the ministry has meant to me, what my vision for the future of Pecometh is. I'm a big abundance theory, and that's what I hear when I hear that passage in the gospel. Give to everyone. Give to the people you love. Give to your enemies without anything expected in return. And to me, that's abundance theory. You know, we give freely of ourselves without expecting anything in return. And I always want people to feel welcome at Pecometh. I want them to feel the community that I felt the very first time, you know, as a 13-year-old boy, you know, where, hey, this is a community that I can be a part of. Pecometh next summer will celebrate its 80th anniversary, you know, and I say there's lots of us that have, you know, all this history here, but it's a place where you can have all this history, and it's a place where you can come for the first time and be just as welcomed as everybody else, and that's what we want there at Pecometh. So you can have your own holy experience there, that interaction with God. So walking those trails, telling my wife all these ideas and I had, she stops and turns around and looks at me, and I can still remember where on the trail we were at the time. And she said to me, if you ever get a chance to come back to this place, you should try. About 2 weeks later, Reverend Jack Shitama, who had been the director for over 20 years, announced his plans to kind of step away from the executive role there and his succession plan. A national search later, ta-da, here I am. So going on now 3 years as the executive director, and it doesn't seem like that long ago where I was that 17-year-old junior counselor, you know, trying to figure things out there. And, you know, just God works in such awesome, wonderful, mysterious ways, but also such awesome, obvious ways. You know, it's like right there, like this is the way it's supposed to be. So it is a blessing to be there. I do welcome everybody in. I love talking to our guests. I love talking to the campers. They always have this sense of peace as they get closer and closer to Pecometh. And I'm sure those of you who go over there quite a bit, some of you go over quite a bit because we're not that far, and you are a big part of what we do there, part of our mission. So I do want to thank this church for all you do. That Felton cabin has been one of the cabins that's been best taken care of there on the Marsh Hill. So you did build that cabin, but there was a cabin before that you took care of there too. Who knows how long that a long time. That Jake's Place building, yeah, that's kind of our meeting place right before we go out to the river. We put water shoes on there, we put life jackets on there, we go over the rules. It was, believe it or not, it was hot last summer. I know that's hard to believe. We can't quite wrap our head around what that means right now, but it was hot last summer, and having a place to get out of the sun is just going to be wonderful. And you know, that is so awesome. There's the picture of a work crew there. I love that. I love that. Excellent. And we have the photographer with us too. Thank you. So some exciting things going on at Pecometh. Almost every summer we have about 800 campers between our overnight and day camp programs that we run. The campers come from all over Delmarva. What I love is all different backgrounds. A 20 by 20 cabin. We have kids that have bedrooms that big that come to camp, okay? And then on the flip side, the other side of the coin, we have kids that come to camp that don't even have beds, you know? So a place where everyone can come together, be a child of God, be treated the same way, be loved, be taken care of, meet new friends, meet new counselors, and just kind of be in a nice place, a retreat away from the normal, So many stories in the Bible about retreating. Elijah, right? Jesus going up on the mountain, okay? We go out to retreat, and then we come back to what the normal is. But we can learn so much as a part of that retreat, how to live in community, how to put our differences aside. So some of the campers that come, we work with a lot of different churches and agencies with a program called the Spain Grant program. And the Spain Grant was named after a gentleman named Ralph Spain, who worked with underprivileged children in the Milford area. And his goal, he saw the impact of camp, and he saw that camp makes a difference in a young person's life, and he wanted as many kids to go. So what he did is he called Reverend Jack Shatama at the time and said, hey, I have this idea. How can I get as many kids to camp as possible? And Jack was like, well, let's recruit campers. Let's make sure whoever's doing the recruitment agrees to do two things, okay? Make sure they have what they need for a week at camp, be it a bathing suit. We need a little more than just a bathing suit. A sleeping bag, you know, maybe a toiletry kit or whatnot. And make sure they have transportation there, because sometimes those are the two biggest obstacles to get to Pecometh. Having what you need for the week and having transportation. And as Jeannie said, you don't need a lot. You don't need a lot. You don't need a lot. So some of the agencies we work with, Neighborhood House in Wilmington, Deep Roots Ministry in Cecil County, it's a homeless ministry, Salisbury Urban Ministries, and there's quite a few churches we work with as well. We've got some awesome pictures kind of going up there. People often say, hey, you must have the best job in the world. Yeah, because I get to play with awesome camp counselors and whatnot. You see the paddle boards and the sailboats in the background. We have a zip line there. You saw some pictures of some of the other inflatables out in the river. We sing songs. We do arts and crafts, archery. There's Julia, a sophomore at College Park for studying to be a physical therapist. Really awesome young lady from, went to Bow Manor High School in Cecil County. There's some kids out there playing on Saturn. That's called Saturn. It's kind of got a big ball with a ring around the side of it. So just a great time. But it's not all great, because sometimes I get the phone calls. And I got one a couple years ago. Mr. Lankford, what did you do to Jimmy? Anyone else get chills? What did you do to Jimmy? Like, Jimmy had a great time. He was out on Splashdown playing in the river. You know, he had an awesome camp counselor. We have camp counselors from all over Delmarva, but also all over the world. This summer, these are our returning counselors from around the world, okay? Ghana, Jamaica, Australia. Oh, there's one. Finland, okay? And those are our returning counselors. They thought they were gonna do a one-off summer and just come experience America. You know, some of our international counselors are on their second, third, and even in some cases, fourth year working at there, because that ministry and what we do means so much to them, and they want to be a part of that community as well. We also have alumni that recruit recruit staff from overseas. A young lady I worked with as a counselor in the 90s, who was originally from Zimbabwe. Her two nieces are coming from Zimbabwe to work with us this summer. So it's like that Pecometh community is just out there and growing. So anyway, back to Jimmy's mom. I'm still trying to figure out what we did wrong. You know, he had a great time. You know, they had a cool arts and crafts project. All the staff games were fun. He did the zip line. What do you mean, what did we do to Jimmy? Jimmy has been so nice to his sister since he got here. We don't know what's going on with it. What did you do to him? Your child will be changed when they go to camp. And most parents are like, I don't want my kid to change. Well, they're going to be positive changes. 82% of our parents say camp is had a positive impact on their child's life. 49% of the parents said their child was nicer when they came home from camp. Okay? Nicer kid, stronger family, stronger community. You see how it grows there, right? 39% said their child had more interest in talking about God and their own personal faith. Good for young people. 25% said their child had more interest in attending church services. And I say that to all the churches. Because we could probably walk out of this church. It's cold outside, so no one's playing outside. But how many kids are near us? We're next to a school, right? You know, if we can send kids from our communities. I always talk about Pecometh being the transformative experience, because it was in my life. And there's lots of stories, probably in this room, across the conference. We have pastors in the conference that got their calling to be a pastor at Camp Pecometh. So it's a really impactful ministry. I take it for granted because I know exactly what it is. If you look at your bulletin, anyone recognize what's going on there? Pie plates with candles in them. Yeah. So we have a service Thursday night. It's called the Galilean service. And if you've ever sat in the outdoor chapel, the sunset's just perfect. You know, God had a plan when he had that glacier come down and carve out that river. So on Thursday night, we have what's called a Galilean service, Jesus at the Sea of Galilee. And it sums up kind of the Bible study lessons for the week. And each camper is invited to light a candle from their counselor. And that candle, that lighting of that candle means a lot to a lot of different people. I always like to talk about it as like, you know, how can we take the light of Christ back out into the world, you know? And you can imagine it's one, and then it's two, and just how brighter and brighter and brighter it gets. Because once again, you know, the camp week is temporary, you know, that community is temporary. We're only there, you know, Sunday to Friday. And then we need to go back out into the world. Can we take that light back out into the world? It's so awesome, you know, to see 150 candles floating down the river. And then there's always one candle, one pie plate that's floating a different direction. And it's like, whose is that? And, you know, is that God calling someone to do something that might not be away from the crowd? Might be a difficult situation, might be a dangerous situation. We had a camp counselor a few years ago, had this calling to go and be a missionary in the Sudan. I see your look there. Yeah, not a safe place to go, not for a young female to go, but that was her calling, and she went, and she did work there for a couple of years, and had some amazing impact. So. It's just a really, really powerful service, you know, just taking that light of Christ out into the world. I'm going to wrap up here. I see some people getting the shepherd's crook to pull me off here. People often ask how they can support Pecometh. We appreciate your prayers. We can feel your prayers. December was a pretty difficult month for me personally, with some professional things going on at Pecometh. I could feel the prayers, and I appreciate that. We do have a prayer team email that goes out weekly where we have our celebrations, we have our concerns, we have we let people know what kind of guest groups we have going on. And if you'd like to join that, I have some bookmarks here that I've left out. So please join that. Big believer in the power of prayer, and I know this congregation does as well. And it's not just when we're in need, but it's also we want to celebrate things that are going on as well. We launched this about 2.5 years ago. And around that time, for those of you who've been to the adult retreat center, our fire suppression pump went up in our retreat center. $85,000. Our operating budget can't absorb that, you know? So we put it out on our prayer team email. And within a week, I had a conversation with someone, and they were like, yeah, I'll cover the cost of that for you.
Wow.
I mean, just incredible generosity, but also how much people believe in the ministry that we do. Send a kid to camp. That's another way you can support Pecometh. Send a kid to camp. Anywhere from for the overnight completed first grade all the way up through high school. We want as many kids there as we can. If you don't know a kid to send to camp, I'll find you a kid to send to camp, okay? there's a lot of need out there. There's a lot of need out there. But we also have lots of generous people that are willing to send kids to camp, Our old development director, Dave Buchanan, always used to say, it's easy to raise funds to send kids to camp. It's hard to get a hot water heater replaced, but it's easy to send kids to camp. And when you think about sending kids to camp, think about that Deep Roots organization. Families that are in different stages of homelessness. Some are kind of transitioning in and out there. What a blessing for a family if a kid gets a week at camp. The parents don't have to worry about where do I find food. We feed the kids 3 meals a day. Where are we going to sleep tonight? The kid has a place to sleep. Why can't my kid just be a normal kid for a week? He or she can go be a normal kid in a cabin for a week and just have those experiences. And some of those concerns can just fall away for a week. And that's such a blessing for them. We all, and maybe, before and after the services, we all know families in need. You maybe you're in the grocery store or wherever, and you run into someone. And it's like, well, did you hear about so-and-so? They lost their job. They were in a car accident. They have this diagnosis. A week at camp might be what the family needs, okay? The kid can just be a kid for a week, and the parents can know that their child is being taken care of and loved for a week. All right, one of the last ways, and this church does this very well, is donating your time, your treasure, your talents, special talents. I know Jeannie really liked when Randy was there helping fix that roof.
Right.
Yeah. And your testimonies, if you can share your stories of Pecometh and the impact that it has on young people's lives. So I would love to hear some testimonies afterwards, after the service to that. But I really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for allowing me to come and speak today. And thank you for all your support. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, definitely. I can tell you one story, and it's not about a camp program. I've told Augie a couple things. I don't know if I've told you this one, but one year I was there as a spiritual director for Chrysalis over in the Faith and Hope cabins, and after the talk on grace, the talk on sacraments, one young lady came to me and asked if she could be baptized, and yes, I mean, I can do that, and you want to do that, so let's do that. We went over to the chapel, the outdoor chapel,
Beautiful.
and did a baptism, and it was beautiful. Yeah, it was beautiful. So I know that had an impact on her and on me. It was neat to be able to